But first, the hot topic of the hour. New figures detail the results of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal migration and the removal of criminals from the country. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services telling Fox News Digital, since President Trump's second inauguration, they've referred more than 14,000 immigration cases to ICE for national security and fraud concerns. 182 of those numbers confirmed or suspected national security risks. The agency also issuing a record-breaking 196,000 notices to appear to put migrants into removal proceedings. I spoke with White House border czar Tom Homan about the current state of affairs at the border. He joined me on Sunday Morning Futures.
We have the most secure border in history of the nation, which saves lives. Look, when 95% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted making that journey? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many Americans aren't dying from drug overdoses? But most importantly, I want to talk to you because you're right. There's been a change. There's been an awakening of the younger folks. I look forward to talking eye to eye with them all over today because they are wakening up. I think what happened to Charlie Kirk has started a movement that can't be stopped. And I'm happy to be a part of that and educate these people on the truth. Not what you read in the media. I'm going to educate them on the truth of what President Trump's actually doing for this country.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is now offering $3,000 to any illegal who wants to self-deport by December 31st. You've got 7 days. A new, quote, Home for the Holidays effort. Emily, your reaction for this Home for the Holidays new program?
I mean, it certainly sounds cheaper than the millions of taxpayer dollars funding illegal aliens to live there, their housing, their Medicare. As a higher education reporter, I can tell you that universities across the country are using taxpayer dollars to fund scholarships, resources, and even free legal services for illegal aliens here in this country and their family members. I reported this year that the California State University system has used over $42 million in taxpayer funds to provide free deportation defense to illegal aliens and their family members. So, yes, this $3,000 sounds a little bit cheaper than that.
Yeah, what do you think, Mark?
Well, look, it's a good deal for them. They get $3,000 for the holidays. And it's a good deal for us because it saves us $17,000. And, you know, probably the biggest takeaway here is that President Trump, when he came into office, he promised results. He promised that he was going to enforce the law. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's enforcing the law, providing us with results. And per Tom Homan's comments, we have the most secure border in the history of this country, thanks to his policies. And the fact that there were 182 national security risks flagged, let's be honest, that's not immigration. That's what we call infiltration. And we need to ensure that we maintain a secure border and do whatever it takes to not allow those people in the country again.
Well, more than 125 Democrat lawmakers are urging the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, to withdraw this proposed rule, which affects green card eligibility, Mark. The rule would allow denial of green cards for immigrants who use public benefits. So if they use Medicaid or food stamps, they are eligible to get denied. Democrats are arguing that this would create uncertainty and inconsistent decision-making by immigration officers. What do you think about this, Mark?
We cannot be everybody's sugar daddy, okay? Like, money doesn't grow on trees. If you need a welfare check, you're not getting a green card. It's pretty simple. I mean, I think most Americans probably agree that immigration should not just be a path to welfare. Money doesn't grow on trees. We need more. We need to find immigrants who are actually contributors, who provide something to society, and fewer people who are dependent on welfare benefits. I mean, that's not a good way to build your country when you're allowing people in that consume the resources that those who are working hard are contributing to this economy.
What do you think, Emily?
The American taxpayer should not have to foot the bill for illegal aliens. And look, it's been a remarkable year at the border. More than 100,000 criminal illegal aliens deported under this president. And of course, many of them with those lengthy criminal rap sheets. But my major concern in 2025 was, of course, the 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents. In 2026, of course, I want to see that number fall to 0%. But in order to do so, we need to crack down on those tools and websites that are enabling criminals to dox ICE agents. I reported this year that a former NYU professor professor is operating a website that uses facial recognition and artificial intelligence in order to reveal the identities of ICE agents. The U Chicago student newspaper is also running an ICE tracking website that reveals GPS coordinates of ICE enforcement operations. These tracking tools fueled the assault on ICE agents in 2025, and those agents deserve better in 2026.
Yeah, great points all around. We're just getting started this hour. Let's slip in a short break and then take a look at markets and the economy.